All right, I'm the Sage Wanderer coming at you from my mini dilapidated motorhome, literally a van down by the river. So I want to talk to you kind of about a serious subject right now. In previous videos, I talked about Antifa and their planned purge, and I made it seem kind of random. And obviously, there's going to be a lot of randomness in it. But I also want you to know that I've uncovered evidence that Antifa has a hit list. They're acquiring a very specific list of individuals who they are prioritizing on the basis of who they would like to see killed first. We saw this in the tactic with the shooter in, I guess, Maryland, I think it was. Well, anyway, where the Republicans, congressmen were shot, and Congressman Scalise was shot. Congressman Scalise was targeted. He was shot first for a very specific reason. So the shooter in that situation, it was uncovered later, he in fact had a hit list, and Scalise's name was at the top of it. So there is an Antifa hit list. If you've been watching these conflicts, these protests, you'll see that some Antifa members' jobs seem to be to collect images and video, up-close facial pictures of the individuals who are opposing them in these rallies. Sometimes the photographer is made up in Antifa clothing, and sometimes he pretends to be a nonpartisan observer. But the way to tell is he doesn't try to take pictures of Antifa. He avoids taking pictures of Antifa, and he takes pictures of the individuals opposing Antifa, because they want to use facial recognition software to identify their opponents, and not so they can be doxxed and harassed right now, although that may start happening soon, and it is in some cases already happening. But that list, more importantly, is for when the crap really hits the fan and the revolution starts for reals. Those are the people they're going to kill or imprison first. Those are the people they're going to come for. It's going to seem kind of random because of the way that Antifa is making their list. Now, I have some inside information here, but I'm not going to share with you my sources. I'm going to protect my sources. But trust me, this list is going to seem erratic, because personal vendettas are allowed on the list. So a lot of people come into this organization, and when they realize what's going on and they're fully brought in, most of your soldiers on the front lines of Antifa think they're fighting fascism, and they have no idea what's really going on. But as you go up the food chain into higher and higher levels of leadership, then you start to get more and more of the information. Not an uncommon tactic at all in cults. And oftentimes people don't really know what their doctrine is until they get to the very top. So these individuals, when they're brought in and brought to the next level because they've proved their loyalty and their like-mindedness, one of the things that really is enticing to them is that if they've got a list of personal enemies, people they just don't like, people they've looked at and went, I'd like to see that person dead, they can put them on the list, and they can take that fantasy one step further. And if a time comes where law and order is no longer the rule of the land, and chaos and anarchy become the reality here in America, then their enemies can get wiped out for them. They don't even have to do it. Someone else will do it. So they're creating a master list, which includes each individual's personal vendetta individuals, as well as strategic targets such as the chief of police, the head of the Republican Party in that area. You know, this group thinks globally but acts locally, and they understand that this is a grassroots war and that it's going to be fought on a local level. They're not going to jump in some jet and fly across the country to fight somebody in another state. It's going to happen right here in their hometown. And so you could be on Antifa's list, even if you've never been to one of these protests, even if you've never been like me and stood up and said something publicly against them. You could still be on their list if you are a manager at your work and you're responsible for scheduling, and or if you've gotten a personal pissing contest with one of your employees, you could be on the list. If you've gotten to a disagreement with a friend or an individual, and you don't realize that they're an Antifa, or they hold a grudge against you and then they go into Antifa, then you could be on their list. It could be one of your exes who joins Antifa and puts you on the list. You might be on this master hit list and not even know it. Now, I'm fairly certain I'm on their list even before I made my first YouTube video a few days ago. I've never been to a rally. I don't attend them. I don't believe in that form of freedom of speech right now because I see how it's being misused and mislabeled. And I'm not a joiner anyway. I'm a lone wolf. So how did I get on Antifa's list? Well, I had a friend who converted to Antifa, and we had a conversation about it. And the deeper we got into this conversation, the more heated it got, because I was trying to bring reason to this person and help them understand that political violence is not proper, it's not the way, and all it's going to do is bring about, you know, a nationwide civil war. And my biggest concern was for my friend. You know, she was so brainwashed that when I told her, you know, you're going to get killed. Somebody's going to kill you if you keep acting like this. You can't be with those people. You're going to get yourself killed. You know what she said? I hope my death is swift. What kind of brainwashing crap is that? In other words, she's already resigned herself to the fact that she's going to get herself killed doing this, and she doesn't care, and she hopes she dies quick. That's some kind of special crazy right there. And her and I have never really always agreed on things. We tend to come from different perspectives. But we've always managed to agree to disagree. And so I kept wanting to give her the benefit of the doubt rather than just labeling her a terrorist and kicking her out of my house. But when I asked her, what about the bike lock attacker in Berkeley? If you don't know about this, look it up. You know, he hit a guy who had his hands up in submission. This Antifa member hit him with a bike lock and split his head open. And I said, what do you think should happen to that guy? And she says, I think they should turn him loose. He was just exercising his First Amendment right. So then I said, okay, what about the congressman that was recently shot? Listen, you and I can continue to have this conversation and continue to be friends if you can just denounce this whack job shooting our congressman while they were trying to play baseball. And she went, yeah, I can't do that. No, that guy was doing the right thing. He was standing up for what he believed in, and he was just exercising his Second Amendment right. It gives you the right to bear arms, not to use them. So you can see that logic is lost on these folks. But on that, I kind of lost it, and I went, I can't be friends with not cohabitate because we won't live together, but I can't have an individual in my circle who has access to me who thinks like this. And I lost it a little bit, and I basically told her to get the hell off my property and never come back. The second she left, I kind of went, oops, dang. That probably put me on their list. That was before I found out they had a list. It just kind of the thing I thought was that's a good way to get targeted. So that's how I ended up on their list. How did you end up on their list? You might be. How did you end up on their list? Think about it. Paranoid times, frightening times. Next video is on how to avoid being targeted. Thanks.